Ethan was a young man who had everything many people only dreamed of. He was incredibly rich, a billionaire by the time he was in his late 20s. His company, which he had built from nothing, was known all over the world. People admired him for his hard work, intelligence, and success. But there was one thing that made Ethan different from many other rich people. His heart was full of pain. His wife, Claire, had been the light of his life. They had met when they were both very young and quickly fell in love. Claire was kind, gentle, and full of life. She believed in Ethan and supported him through every challenge. When they got married, everyone thought they would live happily forever, but life had other plans. Just a few months after their wedding, Claire died in a terrible accident. It happened so suddenly that Ethan could hardly believe it. One moment she was there, smiling and planning their future, and the next, she was gone forever. The world felt empty and cold without her. Ethan's life changed completely that day. He stopped laughing and stopped enjoying the things that used to make him happy. His friends and family tried to help, but nothing could reach the deep sadness in his heart. He didn't want to leave the house or see anyone. The only place he wanted to be was at Claire's grave. Every day, without fail, Ethan visited the small cemetery on the edge of town. It was a quiet place, full of green trees and soft grass. The sun shone gently through the leaves and birds sang softly, but none of this brought comfort to Ethan's hurting heart. The grave was simple, with a white stone, and Claire's name carved into it. Every time Ethan stood there, he felt close to her, even though she was no longer alive. He would sit by her grave for hours, sometimes talking to her as if she could hear him. He told her about his day, about his work, and about how much he missed her. He promised her that he would never forget her, no matter how hard life became. Sometimes tears would fall from his eyes, and the soft sound of his crying was the only sound in the quiet cemetery. People who saw Ethan at the grave were curious. How could a young man with so much money be so sad? Why didn't he try to move on? Some thought he was weak or strange, but those who really looked saw the love and pain in his eyes. Ethan's visits were not about money or show. They were about a broken heart that needed healing. For Ethan, visiting Claire's grave became the most important part of his day. No matter how busy or tired he was, he would make time. Sometimes he arrived early in the morning when the sky was still dark and the air was cold. Other times he came late at night when the stars were shining. Rain or shine, snow or wind, Ethan was always there. His routine gave him a small sense of peace. It was the only moment when he felt connected to Claire, and that was enough to keep him going. But deep down, Ethan knew that visiting the grave could not bring her back. The pain inside him was heavy and sometimes felt unbearable. Ethan's sadness was not just about missing Claire. He blamed himself for what happened. He thought that if he had been there, he could have saved her. If he had been stronger or faster, maybe the accident would never have happened. These thoughts haunted him day and night. He started to shut down emotionally. He stopped trusting people and stopped believing in happiness. Work became a way to escape from his feelings. He threw himself into his business, hoping the busy days would make the nights easier. But every success felt empty without Claire to share it with. No one could reach Ethan's heart except for the quiet moments at the cemetery. There he felt safe to be himself, broken and vulnerable. He didn't need to pretend or hide his pain. The trees and the wind were his only company, and sometimes that was enough. Despite his sadness, Ethan still had kindness inside him. Often left flowers at Claire's grave, fresh and beautiful. He wanted her to know she was loved. He also took care of the cemetery, making sure it was clean and peaceful. These small acts showed his respect and love. Sometimes other visitors would see Ethan and feel moved by his devotion. Some tried to talk to him, but he usually remained quiet. His eyes held a sadness that was hard to explain. It was clear that Claire was not just a memory, she was a part of him. Ethan's story was one of deep love and deep loss. It showed that even the richest people can suffer the greatest pain. Money could not buy happiness or bring back the people we love. For Ethan, life had become a daily struggle to live with grief and find meaning again. But even in the darkest moments, there was a small hope inside Ethan's heart. A hope that one day, somehow, he would find peace. Until then, he would keep visiting Claire's grave, holding on to the love that never died. Every day, Ethan went to the cemetery, always to the same quiet spot where Claire was buried. Over the years, his visits became a part of his life that no one could change or interrupt. Even though many people saw him, few truly understood the man behind the visits. Ethan was a young billionaire, but no amount of money could fill the space Claire had left in his heart. His daily visits were not just a habit. They were a way to stay connected with the love he had lost. He sat by her grave and stayed silent for long minutes, sometimes hours, feeling close to her in a way that nothing else could replace. The people around the cemetery noticed Ethan's presence. Some of them were workers who looked after the grounds, while others were visitors who came to pay respects to their own loved ones. To many, Ethan looked like a lonely, quiet man who was lost in his grief, but he didn't care what they thought. To him, this place was sacred. Though he was known as a billionaire in the city, in the cemetery he was just a man who needed to heal. Ethan never spoke about his wealth or his business when he was there. Those things did not matter to him in this peaceful place. His world outside the cemetery, full of meetings and deals, was far away from the quiet and stillness of Claire's resting place. Sometimes people tried to approach Ethan. They wanted to comfort him or offer help. Friends, family members, and even strangers reached out, hoping to bring some light into his dark world. But Ethan often turned away. He was not ready to talk or to share his pain. His grief was private, something he kept locked inside. Ethan's refusal to open up worried those who cared about him. They saw him losing himself day by day. His face looked tired, and his eyes, once full of hope and joy, now seemed empty. Even the happiest moments of his past felt like distant memories. The young man's routine was simple but strict. He would arrive at the cemetery early in the morning before the sun rose and sit quietly by the grave. He sometimes brought a small bouquet of flowers, carefully choosing fresh blooms from the market. He would lay them gently on the grass, making sure the grave looked cared for. The wind often whispered through the trees, and birds sang soft songs that seemed to echo Ethan's sadness. Yet, even in this sorrowful place, there was beauty. The green leaves, the soft sunlight, and the peaceful silence gave Ethan a small comfort. It was a moment where he could breathe and remember the love that had filled his life. Many people who watched Ethan thought his visits were a sign of strength. It took courage to face grief every single day, to stand by the grave of a loved one and speak to the empty air. Ethan's loyalty to Claire touched the hearts of many who saw him. They admired the way he never gave up, even though his pain was clear. But not everyone understood. Some people whispered behind his back, saying he should move on, or stop living in the past. They thought that with his money and youth, Ethan should forget Claire and find happiness again. These words hurt him deeply. Ethan knew that healing was not a simple choice, and grief was not something you could leave behind like an old coat. At times, Ethan felt trapped by his own sadness. He wanted to move forward, to live a life filled with hope again. But every time he thought about it, the weight of loss pulled him back. The memories of Claire were everywhere, in his home, in his work, and most of all, in his heart. Ethan kept a small box of Claire's belongings in his house. Inside were letters she had written, pictures of their happiest days, and little gifts they had exchanged. He often sat alone in his room holding these treasures, remembering the sound of her laughter and the warmth of her smile. He sometimes wondered if he was being selfish by not letting go. Friends told him it was time to start living for himself again. They encouraged him to travel, to meet new people, and to find joy. But Ethan wasn't ready. He still needed to feel close to Claire, even if it meant being alone. His visits to the cemetery gave him that closeness. It was a place where he could cry freely without fear of judgment. It was a place where he could talk about his feelings, knowing Claire could not answer, but somehow could listen. For Ethan, these moments were sacred. Despite the sorrow, Ethan never lost his respect for life. He kept his promise to Claire, to be kind, to work hard, and to live with honesty. In the business world, he was still a powerful and smart leader. But the real strength came from his heart, where love and grief lived side by side. Over time, Ethan's story spread quietly among the cemetery workers and visitors. They saw him as a symbol of true love and deep loss. His faithfulness to Claire's memory inspired others to cherish their own loved ones more. Sometimes Ethan met other people who were also grieving. They shared silent moments together, understanding, without words. In this way, the cemetery became more than a place of sadness. It became a place where broken hearts could find a little peace. Even though Ethan's world outside the cemetery was busy and loud, inside this quiet space, he found a way to survive. His visits were a reminder that love does not end with death. It continues quietly and strongly in the hearts of those left behind. Each day as he left the cemetery and returned to his life as a billionaire, Ethan carried a small piece of Claire with him. Her memory gave him strength to face the challenges ahead. And though his heart was still heavy, he held on to the hope that one day he would find a way to heal completely. Until then, Ethan's visits to Claire's grave were his way of staying connected to the past and facing the future. It was a daily journey of sorrow and love, pain and hope, a journey that only someone who has truly loved and lost could understand. As the years passed, Ethan continued his visits to Claire's grave, never missing a day. His grief remained heavy, but over time, something unexpected began to happen at the quiet cemetery. A small girl, who lived a very different life from Ethan's, started to appear near the grave. Her name was Lily. She was a young beggar girl no older than 10 or 11. Lily had known a hard life from the very beginning. She didn't have a home, a family, or anyone to care for her. She wandered the streets most days, searching for food, shelter, or something to keep her safe. The cemetery was one of the few places where she could find peace and quiet, away from the noisy city and the harsh world outside. Lily first noticed Ethan because he was always there, sitting quietly, speaking softly to the grave. She was curious about this man who came every day, rain or shine, without fail. Most adults she saw were busy and loud, but Ethan was different. He seemed gentle, sad, and kind. Slowly, she started to watch him from a distance. At first, Ethan did not notice Lily. She was careful to stay out of his way, hiding behind trees or gravestones. She was shy and didn't want to bother him, but over time, Ethan began to see her. She was a small figure with dusty clothes and big, bright eyes that held a mixture of curiosity and sadness. One day, Ethan spoke to her for the first time. It was a quiet afternoon and the sun was beginning to set. Ethan noticed Lily sitting near a broken statue, holding a small piece of bread. He walked over slowly and sat down beside her. "Hello," Ethan said gently. Lily looked up, surprised. No one had ever spoken to her kindly before. "Why do you come here every day?" she asked quietly. Ethan smiled softly, a little sadly. "I come to visit someone very important to me," he replied. "My wife. She passed away many years ago." Lily's eyes grew wide with understanding. "I'm sorry," she said. From that moment, a quiet friendship began. Ethan found comfort in Lily's presence, and Lily found a safe place near him. Over the weeks, they talked more. Lily told Ethan about her life on the streets, the hard times she faced and the small hopes she held on to. Ethan shared some of his own feelings too, something he had not done with anyone else for a long time. Lily was not afraid of Ethan's sadness. Instead, she understood it in her own way. She knew what it meant to lose things, not just people, but also safety, warmth and trust. Even though their worlds were very different, they shared a connection through pain and loneliness. Ethan started to look forward to these moments with Lily. Her stories and laughter brought a new light to his visits. For the first time in years, he felt less alone. Lily's presence reminded him that even in loss, life could still hold surprises and friendship. As their bond grew, Ethan noticed how smart and wise Lily was beyond her years. She saw things clearly and spoke honestly, sometimes saying things that made Ethan think deeply. She did not judge him or his sorrow, but accepted him as he was. One afternoon, Lily shared a secret with Ethan. She told him about a night she had seen years ago, the night of Claire's accident. At first, Ethan could hardly believe what she said. How could a small girl have witnessed something so important? But Lily's story was clear and full of details. She described the lights, the sounds, and the people involved. She told Ethan things that he had never known before. Her words stirred up old memories and feelings he had tried to forget. Ethan realized that Lily's revelation might change everything he believed about that tragic night. It was both frightening and hopeful. Frightening because it meant the truth was different from what he had been told. Hopeful because maybe, finally, he could understand what really happened and find answers he had been searching for all along. Despite the shock, Ethan trusted Lily. Her honesty and bravery impressed him. He knew that her life had been difficult, but she still chose to tell the truth even if it was painful. From that day, their relationship became more than just a quiet friendship. They shared a mission to uncover the truth and find peace. Ethan felt a new purpose growing inside him. The pain was still there, but now it was joined by determination and hope. Lily, too, felt a change. For the first time, she had someone who cared deeply about her story and who was willing to listen. She found strength in their bond and courage to face the challenges ahead. Together, they spent more time at the cemetery, talking, planning, and supporting each other. The unlikely friendship between the young billionaire and the beggar girl became a symbol of hope and healing for both of them. In this quiet place, surrounded by memories and the beauty of nature, two broken souls began to heal. Their story was proof that even in the darkest times, connection and truth could bring light. The moment Lily shared what she had seen that night changed everything for Ethan. It was as if a heavy curtain had been lifted, revealing parts of the past he had never known before. Her words echoed in his mind again and again, filling him with confusion and pain, but also a strange kind of relief. Lily told Ethan she had been near the accident scene by chance. She had been hiding from the cold and danger of the streets, seeking shelter in a quiet alley not far from where the accident happened. From her hiding spot, she saw the car speeding and the terrible crash that took Claire's life. But there was more, something no one had told Ethan. According to Lily, the accident was not just a tragic mistake or bad luck. She had seen a shadowy figure rushing away from the scene shortly after the crash. The figure was someone Claire had known, someone close to both of them. This revelation shocked Ethan deeply. It meant that Claire's death might have been caused by more than just an accident, maybe even a betrayal. Ethan's heart pounded as he listened to Lily's story. He felt a mix of emotions: sadness for Claire, anger at the possibility of betrayal, and fear of what the truth might mean for his future. He had lived with questions for so long, but now those questions had new, frightening answers. For days after that conversation, Ethan could hardly think about anything else. The comfortable sadness he had lived with was shattered. His world felt unstable, as if everything he had believed was suddenly unreliable. But he also knew that he could no longer ignore the truth. He had to find out what really happened that night. Ethan and Lily decided to work together to uncover more information. Ethan used his resources carefully, quietly asking questions and looking for clues. He wanted to find the person Lily had seen and understand why they had run away. It was a delicate and painful process. Ethan had to be careful not to disturb his business or attract unwanted attention. But his desire for the truth was stronger than his fear. Lily, though young and without power, became Ethan's guide in the streets. She knew people who remembered that night or had heard stories. She helped Ethan connect with those who could shed light on the mystery. Her courage and street knowledge were surprising and valuable. Together they uncovered secrets hidden for years. They learned about jealousy, misunderstandings, and mistakes that had led to Claire's death. Some truths were painful, but they also brought a sense of justice. Ethan began to understand that Claire's accident was not simply bad luck, but part of a deeper story involving human flaws and errors. As Ethan learned more, he also found moments of forgiveness in his heart. He realized that holding on to anger and pain would not bring Claire back or heal his soul. Instead, facing the truth with courage and compassion was the only way forward. Lily's presence was a constant support for Ethan. She reminded him to stay strong and hopeful. Their friendship grew stronger as they shared not only the burden of grief, but also the power of healing. The revelation also changed how Ethan saw the world around him. He became more aware of how fragile life is and how important it is to cherish the people we love. He wanted to use his success not just for himself but to help others who were suffering, like Lily and many others in the city. This new purpose gave Ethan a renewed strength. Though his heart was still heavy, he felt ready to face the future with hope. The pain of loss would always be part of him, but it no longer controlled his life. Ethan's journey from grief to healing was not easy, but it was real. With Lily's help, he moved beyond sorrow to find meaning and peace. Their story showed that even in the darkest moments, truth and friendship could bring light and hope. The years Ethan spent visiting Claire's grave, searching for answers, and building a friendship with Lily had changed him deeply. He was no longer just a lonely man broken by loss. He had become a man with purpose, a purpose shaped by truth, compassion, and hope. After learning the truth about Claire's accident, Ethan decided to take important steps. He wanted justice for Claire, but also wanted to bring kindness and support to others like Lily, who had lived difficult lives in the city. With his wealth and influence, he knew he could make a difference. Ethan began by helping Lily. He found a safe home for her, where she could have food, warmth, and the chance to go to school. For the first time, Lily felt the comfort of a real family. She was grateful to Ethan, but more than that, she was happy to have someone who believed in her and cared for her dreams. Their friendship grew stronger. Lily, once a quiet beggar girl, began to blossom. She worked hard at school and showed a bright mind and kind heart. Ethan felt proud watching her grow, and she gave him a reason to believe in the future again. Ethan also decided to use his business to help the city's poorest people. He started programs to provide jobs, education, and shelter for children and families in need. He wanted to turn his pain into something good, to help others heal too. In doing so, Ethan found a new kind of happiness. It was not the easy joy of wealth or success, but a deeper joy that came from making a real difference. Every smile he saw from those he helped reminded him that life could be beautiful again, even after great loss. Of course, healing was not simple. There were days when Ethan still felt the sharp sting of grief, and moments when memories of Claire flooded his mind. But now, he did not face those moments alone. He had friends, a new purpose, and a hope that carried him forward. Lily became a symbol of this hope. She was a living proof that love and kindness could change lives. Together, Ethan and Lily showed the city that no matter how dark the past, the future could be bright. Ethan's story inspired many people. He was no longer just a rich man who lost his wife. He was a man who had faced heartbreak, found truth, and used his strength to help others. His journey showed that even in the hardest times, people can find light if they hold on to love and courage. As the years went by, Ethan continued to visit Claire's grave. But these visits were no longer just about sorrow. They were moments of peace, gratitude, and quiet love. He talked to Claire about the changes in his life and the good he hoped to do. It was his way of keeping her memory alive in a positive way. One day, as Ethan and Lily sat together near the grave, they reflected on how far they had come. From strangers connected by loss, they had become family. They had healed wounds that once seemed impossible to mend. Ethan looked at Lily and smiled. "Thank you for showing me the truth and helping me find hope," he said softly. Lily smiled back. "Thank you for believing in me and giving me a chance," she replied. Their bond was unbreakable, built on trust, love, and the shared journey, through pain to healing. Ethan's story was a reminder to everyone that life, even when it brings great sadness, also offers chances for new beginnings. It showed that love does not end with loss, but can grow into something even stronger. In the end, Ethan was not just a young billionaire who visited his wife's grave. He was a man who had found light in the darkest places, who had turned his pain into purpose, and who had built a future full of hope. And Lily, the little girl who once begged for scraps on the street, became his greatest gift. A reminder that even the smallest voices can speak the greatest truths. Together, they lived a story of love, loss, truth, and healing that would inspire many for years to come.